Hey everybody, it's your friendly neighborhood Greco Fabulous here, and as you can see, I'm trying something a little different today. I'm acting all cool, casual, sitting down in a chair. Doesn't get more comfortable than that. Yeah, so basically, I just wanted to have a conversation for once. I know, don't worry, it's not going to be one of those it's me, not you type of things. Although it's always you, it's always been you. So, no, it's just something happened to me, and I kind of wanted to talk about it, toy related, of course. And I thought, I don't do enough educational programming on my channel. I just do a lot of gloating and neener. Look what I got. Look what you'll never get. So I thought we could use this as a teaching moment. So yeah, let's have a little tete-a-tete right here. So basically, it's to nobody's surprise that I'm a Transformers guy. I mean, I got plenty of examples scattered throughout my room and on this channel. G1 Transformers is my one all and be all. It is my number one. It's my Beyonce. So, as my collection has grown and I've come across some higher end items, the risk has grown as well. Because, I don't know if this is true or not, but to me it seems like no other vintage toy line has been as knocked off and reissued as Transformers has. And it's one of those things where if you don't know what to look for, if you really don't know what you're doing, and I don't know everything, that you can really get fleeced over. So, which brings me to today's topic of discussion. So, I found a Facebook Marketplace ad last night within 15 minutes of it being posted, and my eyes just lit up. I mean, look at this thing. We have a G1 Superion Combiner gift set, unopened, for $200. And I wrote to the guy. He started replying back, it's available. This is legit. And we actually exchanged, he gave me his address, or an address, Cumberland Farms. Unless he lives at Cumbies. I don't think it's his home address. He might live behind Cumbies after, this is all said and done. But anyways, not spoiling anything. But, we got to that point. And, I kind of wanted to just go through my thought process on, what I saw and kind of break it down from there just to see how you would have handled it and maybe have it so that you can avoid something like this potentially in the future. So we made plans and okay, so first off, let's start with the positives because I am an eternal optimist, as you all know. So the positives, right? It passed the eye test. You look at the ad, you click on the picture, that looks G1. It looks good. It's all there. Could have used a few more photos, but from what I'm seeing, there's nothing immediately glaring like, hey, this isn't what it seems. It's more than meets the eye, but in a bad way. None of that was triggering my spidey sense right there, right? So it passes the eye test. We're A-okay there. And then secondly, you're like, okay, why is this hard to find item priced so low? And then you notice that the guy is using generic terms like Transformers. He's not using specific terms that a collector or a reseller, a toy reseller would use. He's not going into details. He's not saying Superion gift set. He's not saying G1, any of that stuff, just Transformers. So anytime you see somebody selling something where they use generic names, there's a clue that it's something where it might not be their bread and butter. So they might be willing to let it go for less than face value, a lot less than face value, because they just don't know. They just don't know any better, or they just don't care. So that's what I was hoping for. That I found one of those guys. So that's my 2 bullet points of positives. Not a very long list. Now let's talk about some of the negative factors that kind of raise my antennae about that this might not be something that is what I want it to be. So secondly, there's pressure, right? There's a lot of pressure to get this deal done because there's a lot of competition in my area. So anytime where a deal shows up that is just amazing on the surface, you know you have to act fast, or else somebody else is going to snipe you. You know, not everybody keeps their word. And if the seller is one of those people where he just doesn't know what he has, you know, if somebody starts throwing out more Benjamins at him, he might rethink his position. Not that many people keep their word nowadays. You know, gentleman's agreement doesn't mean anything. A Greco-Fabulous gentleman's agreement means absolutely nothing. I will stab you in the back, and gladly. So it's one of those things. You gotta act fast because of the competition and because of the low price. So in addition to this, like, you know, vetting process where you're like, I have to make sure this thing is legit because I'm still dropping some money on it. You know, he still wanted $200. You know, at the same point, you're like, you got to commit, or else this thing, the chance is going to be completely zero. And I also want to add that, you know, this thing wasn't right around the corner. I mean, we were talking about an hour drive, you know, early in the morning, $200, but potentially a sealed G1 gift set. So totally worth it if the stars align. So it's one of those things that make it tough to be a collector, because you kind of have to make some, like, on-the-spot decisions, or else you're going to lose it. All right, so now let's go to what I call the warning signs. And you'll notice I keep looking down here because I actually did write some notes, because I don't want to miss anything, right? So here we go. So first off, remember that positive of the guy using generic terms like transformers? Well, it can also be a warning sign. And what I mean by that is, all right, so if the guy doesn't know transformers enough or the toy line enough to know what to look for as a collector, that could work against you. Like, he might just not know what a fan is looking for, right? So, for example, like, he might not, if it's open, he might not know the completeness, he might not know the condition, he might not know, so in this case, right, he said unopened. What does that mean? Does that mean the tape has been cut? Does that mean it's factory sealed? Does he even know there's supposed to be tape there? Like, those are the details where it can actually work against you if you're buying from somebody that isn't a collector or deals with toys. So you kind of have to weigh the good with the bad in that case. Secondly, a warning sign was the low price. I mean, if we're going to go to, you know, the old adage of it's too good to be true, there's a reason why that saying exists, because a lot of times it is too good to be true. And often they'll use that to drag multiple people in and, you know, just to take advantage of them, because they're like, hey, more people would be willing to take a risk if the price is kind of like unbelievably low enough that at the worst they're going to waste their time going down there, and it'll add to that pressure to make an impulse buy. Next is the lack of photography. So in this original listing, there was literally only one shot of the front of the box. That's it. Now again, not a kiss of death by any means. I mean, obviously, if we are dealing with somebody that isn't a collector, they're not going to know that people want to see all angles. They want to see the nitty-gritty details just to make sure to verify this product is exactly what you say it is. So it's not a kiss of death by any means, but when you're trying to make an educated decision as a collector, you need to see those details. You need to know beforehand exactly. You need to be able to do your research. And one front shot of the box isn't always going to be enough to make that decision. I mean, as we were talking, he did send me another photo of, like, the bottom back of the box, which showed the copyright information. But even that, you know, has been reproduced and mimicked tons of times. And honestly, it doesn't amount to squat, most of it. So that's another details that gave me pause throughout this whole process. The next thing was looking at the seller's other items that he had for sale. Now, he had other Transformer products, but they were either reissues or masterpiece collections. So that right there is like, okay, that gave me pause, because he says this one is a legit Generation 1 Transformer, but everything else he's selling is reissues or masterpiece. So it's like, you're kind of guilty by association there. Could I say it? Guilty by association there. Because, you know, why is this one the outlier? Why is he the misfit of the bunch when he has a whole catalog of other reissue Transformers? Why did this one survive the test of time, but these ones don't? So that one was like, that's a little weird. I mean, it'd be different if he had a whole collection and it was a mishmash of a bunch of things. But that one was like, okay, I don't know. It might be reaching here, but it doesn't really give me that sense of comfort that I'm looking for. After that, and this one was like borderline red flag, was when I asked for more specific information, I was met with a lot of generalities. So like when I was like, hey, I just want to make sure that this is legit. Can you send more photos? Because there's just certain things I want to look out for because, this has been reproduced, knocked off. I don't know. Whatever. There's fakes out there. Like, can you give me some more information so I can do my research? And when it's met with a text that says it's real, sorry, that's not enough. I mean, that's like, oh yeah, just take my word for it. Oh, absolutely. Here's $200. Like, and then on top of it, he, when I brought up some more concerns, he sent me that picture of the back, which showed the copyright information, which again, to someone that doesn't know Transformers and what lengths counterfeiters have gone to make you believe that what you have is authentic, they might think that that's good enough. Like, hey, it says Hasbro 1985, Pawtucket, Rhode Island. It's right there. It is a real deal. So yes, to the untrained eye, that might mean something, but to someone who collects, I know that it doesn't amount to a hill of beans or a mountain of beans or whatever amount of beans you want to compare it to. It just does not matter at all. So that kind of rolls into the last part that I had under warning signs, and that is just a complete lack of effort on the seller's part. Like, if you have somebody that is willing to pay you $200 and you just can't be bothered to, like, send him some more photos, or, like, for example, I asked him, hey, when you say unopened, do you mean that both sides of the box are still factory sealed? Is it taped? And his response, he didn't send me a photo. He didn't look and say, yeah, it's there. He said, I never opened it, so it should be there. Wow. So not either you're the laziest person I've ever met, or you're hiding something. So I'll let you guys be the judge of that by the end of this video. So that was all of my warning signs that I wanted to share with you, because that's the stuff that basically I had to like viciously think about as I was like zooming in on this one picture he sent me, and just trying to make an educated decision, but at the same time showing him that I was a serious buyer. All right, so now we're gonna go to the total kiss of death red flags. So there's a website, and this helps me because, so I had the benefit of a few things. Number one, I already have a Superion gift set, so I could compare mine to his as much as I could with the 1 or 2 pictures, 1.5 pictures I got. And secondly, there are websites out there which will document knockoff G1 Transformers and how you can tell them apart. So luckily, this picture had some pretty obvious blemishes that made this very easy to identify as a knockoff. So number one, the one that stood out the most, on the front of the box, the third aerial bot, supposed to be called Fireflight, was spelled Firelight. Okay, that's it. That's all we need to know right there. Absolute knockoff, right? But I will point out a few other things that the website points out that are not as noticeable, but there's some misalignment sometimes when it comes to the positioning of the graphics. Like, for example, Superion on the right side here, like I believe some of the wings on the original box kind of like fold over the front of the box, where this one fits in completely. And then one of these close-up pictures of the individuals, their gun is just a little more angled compared to the original box. So again, not something that I would necessarily notice without the help of this website. So that's things just as with time and experience that I'm going to be able to do automatically, just like basing it off my own knowledge. And but yeah, I mean, if these sites didn't exist, other than that glaring spelling error, which is easily missed if you're not reading every piece of text on the box, it's plausible that you could have bought this thinking it was authentic. And then another thing that caught my eye. Oh, and there's other instances where like some of the graphics are like too close together, like right over here. So but some of them are minuscule. Sometimes it's like this grid box is off center. It's just like, who would know to look for that unless you've done your research? And then the last thing I noticed was that for something that's completely sealed, why is the instruction booklet and the sticker sheet maybe blocking one of the window views of the aerial bots? Now, I guess it's possible that depending on how it was packaged and how things moved around, that it could have gotten loose and like slid down there. It is a possibility, but I wouldn't bet on it. The odds aren't good in that sense. The odds are not in your favor. So just, go with your gut in that regard. Don't give the seller too much leeway, or of what could have happened. Try to be a realist. So after that, I was like, listen, buddy, I think, with all due respect, it's screaming knockoff to me. And I called out the spelling error because that's the most obvious thing. And he was just like, no, it's real. It says, the copyright stuff on the back. And I was like, dude, the knockoffs do that too. Like, it's not like it came with like a notarized letter. You know what I mean? Like, anybody could print out. I can go print out copyright Hasbro and stick it on something. You know what I mean? So that's where we left it. I did not go through with the deal. And, I kind of want to end on a positive note. Like, obviously it's positive that I didn't get screwed over. But I guess in addition to everything we talked about today, I do want to talk about, like, how can you make yourself feel better that you're making an educated decision out there? Because not everybody will have access to these websites on the fly. Nobody will have other examples in their collection to base it off of. Nobody will have the benefit of time to kind of do all this research. So how do you do it if you're like out in the wild and need to make a bang decision? So there's a few things that kind of ease me and ease my concerns and win me over. First off is price stickers. I've said this before in my videos. Not only do I love boxes that have original price stickers on them from like Toys R Us and Bradley's and Ben Franklin and Sears and like wherever, because not only is it a cool blast from the past of all these stores that just don't exist anymore for the most part, and the original prices that came with it, but I've yet to really hear of counterfeiters going to that length to counterfeit their boxes where they would throw on like a dummy price sticker. So that definitely adds some authenticity to at least the box in my case. Secondly, just the story behind it. Part of why I love to go hunting and uncovering all these treasures is kind of the narrative that goes with it. How did it end up in your collection? How did I end up with potentially sealed G1 Dinobots, 35 years after it was made? My grandmother bought it, blah, blah, blah. So, like, just by, like, with talking with the person, and I'm not saying you have to be, like, a CSI, like, personality evaluator or anything, but you can kind of get the gist just by, like, talking to someone, whether they're, like, spitting BS or if they have, like, a cool story that kind of lends credence to what you have in front of you. Not only that, but also, like, if you're buying a collection or other things, it's not just a one-off, that sort of thing. That I think that adds some believability to what you're doing, in addition to some of the more concrete facts that you have at your disposal in the moment. And then I wrote here down, compare one to what you already have. But again, not everybody has that benefit, right? Nobody's reached this level of stardom that I have in my collection. So I guess I'll leave it up to you, right? At this point, I'm not sold that the guy was trying to scam me. I know I kind of wrote that in the title, like, maybe it's a little clickbaity, but I'm not sold. I do believe that maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and just say he's somebody that just didn't know what he had, or maybe he's kind of kicking himself at this point. Like, maybe this was his collection and he's just like, oh crap, I bought a knockoff. So, you tell me, what do you think? Based on the details that I've told you, that I've shown you, his interactions with me, Do you think that he's a victim? Do you think he's just a bystander? He's not really a collector and doesn't care or notice these things? Or do you think he's a victim of counterfeiters? Or do you think he's like, you know, a Leonardo DiCaprio, Catch Me If You Can type of a scam artist here? And just, you know, is just unfortunately ran into somebody who's smarter than the average bear this time around. So anyways, that's it. I don't know if you like this casual setting. I just wanted to do something a little different. And, you know, I want to make an effort to pump out videos more regularly. So, you know, maybe we can have these conversations from time to time. But it's not going to change the fact that, you know, I love making hunting videos. That's going to be my number one going forward. But those things take time. And I know you guys don't get enough of me. So this might have to be your consolation prize until the next one comes out. Unless you don't appreciate this, and then I'll just shut down my channel forever because I hate you all. Don't know a good thing till it's gone. All right. Hope you learned something. Bye.